Hello everyone, it's Arted by Alice, and in today's video I'll be once again helping you get better at drawing. Alice, I don't know which colors to use in my drawing. None of them seem to be working right. Please teach me. Colors are surely very powerful and magical, and I'm here to make them your tool, not enemy. But I suck at color theory, it's so complicated. This video is beginner friendly. Grab your pencils and get to work. I colored this drawing with color pencils in just half an hour, and you can do that too if you know how to do it right, which we'll be doing in this video. Of course, I start every drawing with an accurate sketch, and if you want to learn how to sketch very accurately, watch the previous video. To help you better understand which colors to use where in a drawing, especially if you're a beginner, it might be really helpful to turn the saturation of your reference photo up. After you've done that, you can now hopefully see that part of the dog is yellow and the other is blue. This is a common and natural way of lighting because the sun itself has a yellowish undertone, so the shadows from it will be the contrasting color, which is blue or purple. When coloring with color pencils, you should always start with the lightest colors and then work your way up to the darkest ones. So I'm starting by covering this whole area of the dog that appears yellow to me with a very light yellow, and I apply very low pressure. Also, if you haven't seen the video that I made about 3 main color pencil techniques on my channel, I recommend you watch it first and then come back to this one. Don't forget to erase your original sketch halfway so that you can still see it, but it's just not going to take over the color. As I said earlier, the shadows in this drawing are supposed to be blue and a little bit purple. Here you can see me pointing out which ones are blue, and these ones are purple. Can you see it? It's a small difference in color, but with practice your eyes will be trained to notice it better. Also, in some places the blue and the purples do overlap in this case. All that gives us this gradient map. We can see that in this photo specifically it goes from blue to purple to yellow. It might be different in a different reference. Here you can see that the shadows closest to the left side of the dog are blue, then they gradually turn into purple when we come to the middle, and finally the lightest part of the dog is yellow. Keeping that in mind while you color will help you decide which colors to use in which parts of the drawing and will create a smooth gradient. I decided to start coloring with the blue shadow first because I think that is the main color of the shadows here, and then only some bits of it are purple. Again, now I'm just going in with a very thin layer of color because this is going to be our base, and then we're going to color over it with a bit more pressure and more colors. For the more saturated yellow parts of the drawing, I'm going to use a mix of yellow and orange. Here you can just see me pointing out where I'm going to be using it. Yes, yellow and orange, we got it, girl. That is an update to our gradient map, and it will now look like this, with blue being the color of the shadows and orange being the color of the most saturated sunlight. It's better to start with the color that covers the bigger area of the drawing. For me was yellow because there's only a little bit of orange, so I'm gonna do it after I do the yellow undertone. I'm also going to use orange on the nose and around the eyes, and then I'm going to use it a little bit over the yellow that I colored previously. I use pressure blend, which I talked about in the previous video, and the colors mixed together creating the right shade. I then noticed that this whole area on top of the snout has a little bit of a pinkish undertone, and then within that pinkish undertone you can notice yellows, blues, purples, and oranges. It might not be very noticeable at the first glance, but if you try to relax your eyes and look at different colors separately one by one, you might start to see it. And if you can't see it, congratulations, that's a very good skill for an artist. And just like that, by trying to see the image not as a whole but as a lot of overlapping color layers, you can recreate and make all those colorful colors look realistic at the end. See, even within this nose that just looks orange, you can notice the purple and the yellow side of it. And if you use a thin layer of purple and yellow in the places where they're supposed to be used over this orange nose, you will get the right color. Sometimes when you start looking closely at each part of the drawing, you start seeing so many overlapping colors and it might get confusing, but I think it's still fun. And again, it's great that your eye is able to notice all those many layers of color. And trying to recreate all those color layers accurately will get you a beautiful picture. Also, don't be afraid to use a lot of color when it comes to color pencils, because that's literally what they're for. Especially when it comes to the darkest shadows or the most saturated parts of the drawings, don't be afraid to use color with more pressure and get this bright, colorful color. Normally, after establishing the base color, which is the lightest color that we did in the beginning, the light yellow, light blue, light purple, after that I go in with the darker colors and I just put a lot more pressure on the pencil to get them bright and colorful. Over here I noticed some more pink on the shoulder because it's not really blue nor it's purple or yellow. I thought the pink or red would be more suitable there. When the drawing is coming closer to an end, I'm just going all over it, making it more saturated. There isn't really any green in this drawing, but I'm using it to make the colors that are supposed to be darker than the previous ones, but not like too saturated, because green is pretty much the desaturator of most of the colors that I have on this specific drawing. This is a trick that I use all the time whenever you want to make like a grayish shadow that is not very saturated. You need to mix the contrasting colors, so you can mix green with purple, you can mix yellow with blue or red with blue, depending on which hue you're trying to get. And if you want to get like a really dark shadow, I recommend using dark red, dark blue and dark green, but just don't use black, because then the shadow will look too gray, and if that's not what you want, which I'm assuming you don't want because you're using color pencils, then just mix other colors. Anyways, I now just need to do the background, which I hate doing, but I have to do it because that will just bring the drawing to life. Since the dog on the photo, my dog Phoebe, seems very light compared to the background, I definitely need to make the background a lot darker than she is, so that I can bring her out and make sure that she does look light enough compared to the background. This is called establishing values, which is basically making sure that the colors that you're using in a drawing are light or dark enough in comparison to each other. For the pavement, I'm using a mix of purple, blue and brown. All together they create this grayish color, but it's not like too gray, it's still colorful. To make the bush behind Phoebe look textured, I used the Whimsy Hatch technique, which I talked about in one of my previous videos. So instead of coloring it in straight hatches, I do them swirly, and it just turns out looking so fun and cool. And just like that, you have made a beautiful color pencil drawing. Oh yeah! As always, you can send your results to my Instagram. I will post it to my story and tag you. I hope you found this video helpful.
Wow, Alice, how come you're so cool and your tutorials are so understandable? I should definitely share this video with my friends who can't draw.
Ew.
This was Arted by Alice. Bye!
У меня такая же дурацкая.
Theory, it's so complicated.
Вот так.
Color theory, it's so complicated.